You open your eyes and you see a beautiful scenery of historical and old buildings with chiseled sculptures and bed of flowers, and you smell the sweet aroma of food. You realize you are in Italy. Here is a good landscape of Italy and a kind of a great summary of what Italy looks like. You got some tiny little antique buildings here, a body of water, and a bed of flowers. This is what I imagine to see as first as I step into Italy. And then regarding chisel sculptures, here's a chisel sculpture of Hercules and Caucasus. These are two important authorities in Roman culture. And in this speech, I would talk about how Italy is home of intriguing art history and art itself. The sculptures and buildings are magnificent while accompanying a gasp-worthy scenery that is worth learning and seeing before your lifetime ends. I have some credibility talking about Italy as I am educated on the art history, the food, and the architecture as my grandfather was born and shortly raised in Italy. I have always been interested in Italy's culture and art, so I have taken some time in the past myself to do some research and just some fun research I can learn before I ever visit Italy. In this speech, I will highlight the beauties of the art culture in Italy, talk about the authentic food that is made there, and the interesting history of the architecture. In Italy, they have Roman art, and with that, Roman art and politics were close in relation. Italy is home of the innovation of portraits, landscapes, and the depiction of history. After the Roman Empire had collapsed, Italian city-states separated into separate culture and political centers, which then started the Renaissance era. Roman emperors would have artists depict themselves during their reigns surrounded by riches and glory, like jewelry and in expensive cloth and clothing and a bunch of gold all around them. It's quite conceited once you think about it, but once you think about the era, it's pretty fitting. Now that I focus on Italy's art history, I will now focus on their delicious food. My grandparents made Italian desserts and Italian dinners with me all the time while incorporating my grandpa's authentic culture. The desserts my grandparents made for the holidays were pizzelles, tiramisu, and sapoli. Pizzelles were my favorite because they were tiny little cookies. I would eat 20 of them in one sitting. They were kind of pressed in a little grill, and they were made with alcohol, which I thought was so cool, and I would eat them all the time and think I was the coolest person ever because it had alcohol in it. And a dinner that my family looks forward to every year that is authentically Italian is wedding soup. Wedding soup has a bunch of different kinds of sausages in it. It has a bunch of greens. I didn't really like it as a kid, but it's something that my uncle loved every year. Talking about my family's traditional Italian desserts and dinners every year definitely has me reminiscing and excited for the holidays, but now I will talk about the history of the architecture in Italy. The history of Italy's architecture is based on theories and practices as said by the Department of European Paintings. Most architects in Italy were well-rounded individuals that built meaningful architectures. The first widely known architecture was a goldsmith in Florence who traveled to Rome to study ancient buildings around the 1400s. His name was Filippo Brunelleschi. Filippo is most known from being the engineer of the dome of the Florence Cathedral. Filippo was very particular about his structure regarding the math that was put into it. His measurements were so precise and repetitive that almost created a sense of harmony, as the Department of European Paintings stated. Another widely known architecture in Italy's history was Leon Battista Alberti. Alberti was a humanist, musician, and an art theorist. Alberti also authored treatises that were explaining the principles behind linear perspective. Although these principles might have been explained first by Brunelleschi, which is who I before mentioned. His creation of the Church of Santa Maria Novella is based on the Roman temple front. Alberti was influenced by creating meaning within the structures, and I think that's such a beautiful and raw perspective, especially with architecture, as it is just buildings. But they thought so much within to these sculptures, not even thinking about the engineering and the math that went into it. They wanted to express some type of creativity or provoke some type of feeling. As I have highlighted meaningful and worthy information of why Italy is something you should do in your lifetime, I am coming to my final conclusions. Italy is full of art and architectural history that are both breathtakingly beautiful and intriguing to learn about, and the scenery is something truly magical to be a part of. Roman art is based off of the political history, as art and politics went hand in hand in Italy's history. Italy's authentic traditional entrees and desserts are something to experience, as American Italian food is already widely enjoyed. Finally, the architecture of Italy is so interesting to learn about, as the engineers put so much meaning and creativity into their projects, and is truly something to see. My call to action would be visiting Italy would be a beautiful experience by yourself, with friends, with family, or with a romantic partner. Whatever you do or whatever you see is something you'll remember for the rest of your life. Whether if it's you've gotten sick in the bathroom in a hotel in Italy, like at least you experienced something in Italy, even if it was as dumb as that.